All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am your host for today's broadcast, Insane Leader 13. I might be joined by SDR Dramora, also known as Damage Incorporated here. We're dealing with a little bit of technical issues on that side, but we are preparing to get underway here at Daytona for the first round of this season of IESC here. Already qualifying has gone through. We're going to be looking at about 16 drivers for today's race, assuming that our entire field is able to not lag out in today's party. At the front, it's going to be Chevys versus Fords. And the DPI class, there will be 3 drivers going at in the LMP2 class, and then we have a very, very stacked field in the GT class for today's race. Real quickly, as you look at the timesheets right now, here's some of the interesting things to consider. Fastest laps overall, DPI's obviously on top. Dyno Prime in the Chevy, so qualifying was in the daytime and the race itself was going to be at night, so there will be a bit of a handling difference. Dyno Prime in the Chevy ends up taking an unexpected pole in the DPI category over FCR Aspect, and it is Schumacher SF7 who rounds out that trio there. Tactical Fallout will be joining in for the race. He ended up missing qualifying, but he will still be there for the DPI category. In the LMP2 class, things are a little bit different. We have 3 Chevy FLM09s for the LMP2 class: Mr. Sunshine, RZM Oracle, Arsenal, and LMR Critical. Throughout there, it's pretty large gaps throughout. Critical has the pole, Arsenal is second, and then third is Sunshine. And the spread is about 2/10 between Arsenal and Sunshine. It's the better part of 7/10 though between Critical and Arsenal. So it's likely that Critical is going to walk off in that category. In the GT class, things get a little bit more interesting. Fastest time scored Buffalo with a 143.9. He's the only driver to get into the 43s. Everyone else is in the 44 to 46 range. Shredder also in the BMW, 44.093. U5 in the Chevy is at 44.026. And then everyone else starts falling off. Larry B. the G, I do want to give him a shout out in the Ferrari. Ferrari is known for having notoriously poor handling here. He turned a lap 144.162. So while it's looking like it will be a walkaway at the front for all 3 of the categories, more than likely, we can expect a lot of interesting fighting from about second on down the grid today. So we are going to prepare and get underway a little bit shortly here. There's the party. Hello. Alright. Alright. Sorry, mate. Alright, but anyways, getting ready to get underway here. We're just waiting on everyone else to properly ready up, and then there also will likely be a few drivers making some last-minute adjustments to their car before they get underway for the race. Real quickly, just want to go ahead and... Why is my thing locking up? Give a quick shout out to Icky1975 in the Audi RS pace car. He will be pacing the field for today's race, and I do want to say thank you for that. So the way that this is going to line up is quite simple. At the front, you will have all 4 of your DPI categories 2x2 to the line. The 3 in the LMP2 category, they will be just behind them. Then there will be about 50-foot gap between the LMP2 category and the GT category. The purpose of that is to ensure that the GTs, which are larger, heavier cars, don't end up hitting the P2s and cause any problems for them, and vice versa, the P2s to the DPIs, as the P2s are significantly slower. Just staying by right now, waiting for them to go ahead and get us underway for the event. Just waiting for them to properly ready up here. There we are. Now we have the proper lineup for today's race. So at the front in the DPI category, Dino Prime will have the pole FCR aspect. So that's the number. I can't actually see the number on that. But Dino Prime will have the pole. Then will be the 38 of FCR aspect. That will be second. Schumacher SF7 will be third. Tactical Fallout will be fourth. They don't seem to have the paint lit up on that car. I don't know what the problem is there. Then you go ahead and you look down in the LMP2 category. In the P2s, LMR Critical is running that number 16. RZM Arsenal, who was in the DPI category but has moved down to LMP2, he is going to be in that Walmart Red Bull machine. And then Mr. Sunshine, who is Critical's teammate, he is going to be in that number 8 third. Then we get to the GT category. The number 31 Scored Buffalo will be leading there alongside U5 and that number 54 very minimalistic Chevy. Then it will be Shredder in the other BMW. He'll be alongside Larry B. the G in the Ferrari. Behind him will be VLR Effect. He is in a very minimalistic 333 Porsche. Rock Morrow is back there in another Ferrari. A little bit farther off, he is in that number 13. That is a very interesting Japanese-styled Ferrari. TTJ is also in another Japanese-styled machine. He is going to be running in the Porsche. Ludicrous Speed is in the Ford GT. Then behind him is Deed Speedman in the remaining BMW, and TFB Matter in the Chevrolet. Also of note, Ludicrous Speed, he says he doesn't have a whole lot of faith for this race. He knows that the Fords are down on power, but he took home a unexpected win in the preseason race for that GT category, so we know that he can make something happen if things go right for him. Preparing to get underway, it will be 17 cars for today's race. I thought it was going to be less than that, but no, we're going to get 17. No, just waiting for our last few drivers. That would be Schumacher SS7, LMR Critical, Rock Morrow, and Ludicrous Speed to properly ready up. It is kind of interesting the way that the BMWs within their class have turned out, because we have 3 BMWs, more than any other manufacturer in the GT category. But we have 2 that are right near the front, one on pole, one on third, and then the other one is next to last. So I have to wonder if maybe Deed Speedman has a setup or a build on that car that is not meant to be quite as bloody quick as those. Maybe he's ended up having to sacrifice something. It also might be possible, though, that Shredder and Scored Buffalo are running a setup that is a little bit more set up for the daytime conditions instead of the nighttime. Again, there are going to be natural changes when it comes to track temperature, air density, and things like that when you go from running in the daytime to running in the nighttime. Still waiting on a few final drivers to ready up. LMR Critical, who is going to be in the Chevrolet, he still needs to ready up. There is also Rock Morrow. He needs to get readied up, as does Ludicrous Speed. Once they are readied up, we should be underway for the race itself. Again, a reminder, this is how the race goes. It says 67 laps there in the bottom. Ignore that. That is not important. This is a 90-minute race. So the way it will be done is that once the leaders hit the start-finish line, you will have a 90-minute race. Once those 90 minutes are up, everyone will finish the lap they're on and get one final lap, and that will be the end of the race. Still waiting. I don't know what's taking so long. It looks like U5 AVMP might be trying to do some last-minute adjustments to their car before we get underway here. Yeah, I have a 90-minute timer set up, and that timer will go off once the once the leader of the DPI class hits the start-finish line here at Daytona. Also of note, later tonight, after today's LMP2 DPI and GT race I'm broadcasting here. Later tonight, I'll be covering the first of the 10 races for Apex's NASCAR series. There are a lot of drivers here who are doing double duty. That also will be at Daytona, but that will be at Daytona in the normal oval configuration. So it's a doubleheader at Daytona tonight. Also, tomorrow, late at night on Sunday, I'll be covering the 4th round of Apex's F1 2022 series. So I'm going to be doing a lot of streaming throughout this weekend. Also, it's not going to be on this channel. It will be on the XRL channel. I will be covering XRL X3 once again as they go running at Azerbaijan in the late morning tomorrow, or late or mid-afternoon if you are in British time. But right now, it looks like everyone is pretty much readied up, with the exception of Rockmaro and Ludicrous Speed. It should be noted that because of how many drivers are here, they have had to split the parties. So Rockmar, I believe, is running everything in his party, and Ludicrous Speed is running everything in his party. They're probably waiting till the last minute to make sure everyone is properly up to date with the rules before they get underway. And we just have had another P2 driver show up after missing qualifying, or no, is he not going to be running? Yes, no, he is running. So one more driver in the LMP2 category. This is LMP Grizz. Now, just like with Tactical Fallout in the DPI category, because they missed qualifying, they will be starting in the back of their respective category. But again, LMP2 and DPI, we only have 4 drivers each, so it's not going to be too much of an issue qualifying-wise. And with that, we should be ready to get going here shortly. Waiting on Ludicrous Speed to ray up, and then we'll be underway. So I do want to say to LMP Grizz, thank you very much for jumping back in and being so quick to get underway as we're preparing to get going here. Again, unless the rules are changed, I have not been made aware of it. In the GT and the LMP2 class, everyone is required to make 2 pit stops. For the DPI class, everyone is required to make 4 pit stops. So one interesting thing to consider is that while the DPIs are significantly faster than the LMP2s here, the DPI cars will have to make twice as many pit stops. There is a possibility, not a guarantee, but there is a possibility that we might see a LMP2 winning overall if the yellow flags fall in the right positions today. As we finally get to load onto the circuit. Hopefully we still have all 18 of us here on the track and no one's lagged out. Fantastic, fantastic scenario here. So 18 cars will be taking us through. Real quickly, we're going to go through the GT category. Dead last here is Luke. It's not actually dead last, I'm sorry. Dead last here is going to be starting TFB Matter in that Red Bull Chevrolet. He is going to be there with Deed Speeman, who is in that BMW. Then in 17th position is going to be the Ford GT of Ludicrous Speed. Real quickly, we're going to go ahead and go to the helicopter view, just so you can actually see these cars a bit better. Then ahead of Ludicrous Speed is going to be TTJ111. He is in that Porsche. Very, very fascinating looking car. I don't care what anybody says. 15th is going to be Rockmaro. He is in that very interesting Takata Pirelli Ferrari. Then in 14th is going to be VLR Effect. Effect is in that all pink, very extremely minimalistic Porsche. 13th is Larry B, the G. Larry is in that Red Bull Ferrari. 12th is SRD Shredder. Shredder is in the Shell Helix Ultra BMW. And 11th is U5. U5 is also going to be 2nd overall in the GT category. This here is 10th. This is scored Buffalo. Buffalo, he is in that BMW and on the pole for the GT category. Now we look at the LMP2 category. 4th, he missed qualifying. This is LMP Grizz. Grizz in that number 33 Fanatec Blue Machine. 3rd in the P2 categories will be that number 8 of Mr. Sunshine. Sunshine, one of the main drivers who helped get this league set up and going together. We're glad to see him both taking an effort to keep this series running and here on the track. Then on the front row of the P2s, this is RZM Arsenal. Arsenal in that Red Bull machine, and then the pole position for the P2s is 16 in that Japanese style. Then we look into our 4 DPIs is a Chevy, Ford, Chevy, Tactical Fallout in a basically completely black Chevrolet. Then you have Schumacher. He is in that M Sport British styled Ford. Front row is going to be game. Please don't be this way. FCR Aspect, he is going to be on the outside in a Ford number 38. And Dino Prime takes a very unexpected pole position as we are preparing to get underway. Once again, I do want to say thank you for Icky1975 for being the pace car for today's race as we prepare to get underway here at Daytona and get ready to start the clock. And we are green and underway here. Dino Prime easily leaps into the top spot. FCR Aspect closes in under braking, but that number 77 will keep the top spot for the moment. Tactical Fallout does get by Schumacher, though, at the line, and Schumacher is falling to the clutches, potentially, of Critical. Critical going to the outside, looking to see if maybe he can get by the DPI, use him as a pick to keep the P2s behind. Arsenal is still right there behind, keeping close on his tail as now our entire field begins to go through that high-speed bend, full throttle through there. Critical staying ahead and keeping touch with Schumacher in the DPI category as well. Arsenal has pulled away from Sunshine, and Grizz is not keeping up. But in the GT category, interesting enough, U5 has actually gone ahead and jumped up as Scored Buffalo is struggling right now as he has to fight with the Ferrari. Now, we will see Scored Buffalo get back in front of Larry B. the G for the moment. A lot of drivers anticipating Scored Buffalo to walk off with the GT category win, but there's a lot of fight throughout the entirety of the GT field right now. Meanwhile, at the front, Dino Prime holds on to the lead after gaining pole position. It is Chevrolet leading Ford, leading Chevy. The fourth car in this category, Schumacher SF7, just doesn't seem to be able to keep up quite as well, but he is gapping himself from the P2s at the moment. LMR Critical holds the lead in the P2 category, but it is a tight drafting battle right now as they come out of Speedway Turn 4. Arsenal right behind, looking to the inside, looking to the outside. Does he go ahead and try to send it hard under braking, or is he going to wait a little bit later on? Arsenal is not going to make a move yet. There he is. He let Critical blow the corner, and Critical is going to end up falling side by side with Arsenal. Dead heat in the P2 category. Critical just barely pulls out ahead of Arsenal. And the number 16 is going to, just for the moment, continue to lead in the LMP2 category. Meanwhile, in the GT category, Scored Buffalo is pulled up alongside and will actually outbrake U5 going into turn 1. The BMW takes the lead. The Chevrolet, can he figure out a way back by? He looks to the inside, and the BMW takes a nice wide line. It's going to open up the room. U5 is there. He struggles putting the power down just a bit, and the BMW is going to outrun him going into this high-speed corner. This is not a flat-out corner, though, in these cars. U5 has a good amount of speed. He's trying to figure out an alternate line to get alongside that BMW through here. And Larry B. the G is still just behind, watching as they fight as well. And FCR Aspect has just lost second place to Tactical Fallout in the DPI category. So a lot of people who were expecting that Ford to be faster than the Chevy seems to be proved a little bit wrong. The Ford and Chevy seems to be evenly matched right now. Aspect just barely staying ahead of Tactical Fallout at the moment. Neck and neck, almost neck and neck for that position, and is letting Dino Prime scoot away with the lead right now as they come across the line. Tactical Fallout right behind Aspect. Everyone's saying that the Chevy's main strength is straight line speed, and the Ford is more adept to handling corners. The Chevy also supposed to be better on initial acceleration. There we are. We see it. Tactical Fallout goes to the outside, trying to figure something out, and he's not going to be able to get by him in the first hairpin as they prepare to set underway for the second hairpin now. Coming down into the high-speed bend. Aspect actually going to open up a bit on Tactical Fallout through there, so it does look like that Chevy is probably running a very low downforce setup. It's going to make it very twitchy through that bend, but that could give the Chevrolet a good advantage going down the main straight. I say the main straight, there's really kind of like two different straights. There's a back straight and a front straight. As they're coming into Speedway Turn 1, Tactical Fallout staying behind FCR Aspect for the moment. He's got a good draft. He's closing in on him. Does he go to the inside or the outside? And it looks like he's not going to make a move unless he's going to try and go for a last-minute braking. No, he does not make a move, but Aspect really struggling with his Ford, and he's missed the braking zone, and Tactical Fallout goes by, and Aspect falls to third. Meanwhile, in the LMP2 category, it has opened up a bit. Arsenal has lost touch with Critical just a bit, and Sunshine is not keeping pace with them as well. Neither is Grizz, so the entire P2 category has really separated itself apart. In the G2 class, scored Buffalo. He took the pole, did not lead the first lap, did not have a great initial start, but now he is out in front and starting to gap away from the rest of the field. U5 has been his closest competitor thus far, not in a position to do anything yet. Then third place, Larry B. the G, in that Ferrari, again, a notoriously ill-handling car in this series, but he is making something of it. And then look at this fight here. SRD Shredder in the BMW trying to close in on that Porsche just ahead. VLR Effect holding the inside. Shredder looking to the outside, considering, should I go for a move? Should I make a move or not? This would be a fight for fourth in the GT category. And for the moment, it looks like Shredder not going to be able to out-drag him to the line. He needs to hope that Effect has a bad braking going into one. Under heavy braking now. Effect steps a little bit wide, but not anything that Shredder can even come close to capitalizing on. In fact, look at this. Larry B. the G is actually closing on U5. So this could end up being a fight for second in this category as well. A little bit farther back. This is TTJ111 in the Porsche. He can see Ludicrous speed ahead of him. Ludicrous has pulled up just behind that Ferrari of Rockmaro. Ford very strong in the infield here, but he loses so much speed in the straights that's really hard to make anything of it. And your two-time GT champion, the first time was when IESC was only a GT category, and then the second time when it was a multi-class, about this time last season. Ludicrous Speed won both of those championships. Now he's trying to do it again, but it's going to be a rough time as he's starting right now a race where you can see the massive speed differential he has to the rest of the field. Already, that Porsche behind of TTJ is closing in on the Ford rapidly. Now, I do think Lucas Speed will hold on to this position going into the bus stop chicane. But it's not been a great job for that Ford. Farther up, U5 still there in second. Well, in third, he's actually fallen behind Larry B. the G, and now here comes Shredder. So it's a three-way fight for second. Shredder right there behind the Chevrolet. He's going to go to the outside. Fall back in line. Now he goes to the outside again. Heavy under braking. Larry B. the G in the Ferrari in second, but he's going to miss the braking zone. The Chevy gets a chance to come back. He makes a little bit of contact, has to back out of it. That puts him back under threat from Shredder, as they're all nose to tail for second to fourth in the GT category right now. Ryan on board with Shredder here. Ooh, big twitch by Shredder. Oh, and that's going to take him off the racing line, and that's going to be it. And Shredder is going to lose a bunch of time in this process, and not only that, he's going to fall behind both Rockmaro and VLR Effect. And Shredder, who was in a position to fight for a top position, has now fallen all the way down to 6th overall in the GT category, out of the top 5, and TJ is fine with Ludicrous Speed just behind. Ludicrous Speed likely to lose another position due to the lack of speed that Ford GT has. It's a bit of a drag race here as they begin to get up to speed, but TJ has the advantage. So meanwhile, for the second position in the DPI category, Tactical Fallout has it. FCR Aspect, who a lot of drivers were anticipating were going to walk off with this win, has been showing to have struggles a bit with that Ford going through the bus stop chicane. And that has cost him not only the lead of this race, but it has cost him second as well. He is struggling to keep up with the Chevys near the front at the moment. This has gotten very interesting. In the DPI category, it is teammates, not with the same car setup, but they are teammates fighting there at the lead. Dino Prime, who is 3 seconds ahead of his teammate, Tactical Fallout, Schumacher SF7, who is a relatively late comer to the series. This is his first racing done in Forza Motorsport 7. His background is in the F1 2022 game, so he is trying to adapt to a whole new kind of car, a whole new kind of racing, a whole new kind of game, everything. He is running 4th right now, last in the DPI category, but he is still maintaining respectable pace. In the LMP2 category, LMP Critical continues to lead for the moment in that number 16. He dominated the Daytona preseason race in the daytime, and it looks like he's on track to do the same right now at the night. This is RZM Arsenal. He is 2nd and seems to be struggling just a little bit to close the gap down. He was fighting for a lead earlier, but it seems like he's just not been able to keep it together. Mr. Sunshine has really not been able to keep pace with those two. He can see Arsenal kind of scooting away from him, but he does not seem to have what it takes to do anything to him. LMP Grizz, who was late comer to this and misqualifying, there is something ill-handling and off with the car. He seems to be about as far off of the GT category for him as we were seeing in the DPI category for Schumacher. Scored Buffalo holds the lead over Larry B the G and U5. Then it is a massive multi-car battle here for the GT positions. Look at this 3 wide as they came out of the bus stop chicane there. Shredder had to go below the double yellow to avoid a potential accident. So everyone right on top of each other in this fight. Look at this. This is incredible. Ferrari, BMW, Porsche, Ford, and VLR struggling to get back up to speed. Now look at it. He goes to the outside. Shredder is going to go around the outside of Rockmaro. And under heavy braking now, 3 wide under heavy braking. TJ shows up. He wants to try and make it 4 wide. There's not enough room as the Porsche cuts down on its brother. And it's the Ferrari of Rockmaro who ends up ahead. So from 2nd on back, it has been some absolutely incredible fight. Well, from 3rd on back, it's been some absolutely incredible fighting in the GT category. There's more cars than there is track available to them. TJ muscles his way by VLR effect. Here comes the DPI category. That's your DPI leader, Dino Prime 77. He is trying to scoop by them as fast as possible, but it's just not happening either. Oh, wow, that got interesting, and now we're going to see Tactical Fallout show up as well. Here comes Lucas Speed. He's trying to get by SRD Shredder now, as VLR Effect is just barely going to stay ahead of that BMW and the Ford as they come now into Speedway Turn 1. Here comes the DPI of Tactical Fallout and that black machine. He's going to easily outdrag most of this field, but he has to go all the way to the extreme outside. And there you can see FCR Aspect in the Ford category going by as well. So Aspect using the lap traffic of the GT category to try and close in on Tactical Fallout there. Tac holds on to 2nd for the moment as they shoot out of the bus stop chicane, but Aspect has gotten a good run, and this is the closest he's been to Tactical for a little bit. So that Chevrolet DPI needs to stay aware as he now closes in on U5, that is 2nd position in the GT category, and now he's going to take a look at Larry B the G. Larry is actually 2nd, I'm sorry. Takes a look at Larry B the G, who is 2nd in the DPI category, in the GT category, as 2nd place in the DPIs, catches him and should overhaul him. FCR Aspect trying to hope and find a way that he can close up on the Chevrolet, but it doesn't seem like it's happening yet. Ooh, Tac, not a good run. Oh, it's not nearly as bad though as Aspect. Aspect makes contact with a GT car of Larry B the G, and is going to lose a bunch of time. He's going to close back in now. But the gap is opening up, so Aspect having trouble navigating his way around slower traffic as we run here at Daytona. So real quickly, one other thing I want to want to talk about is going to be fuel and tire wear, because at this point, oh, Aspect, really bad job trying to overtake the BMW class leader in GT. So anyways, FCR Aspect right now, 39% left in the fuel tank. What about 2nd place Tactical Fallout? These two are the closest in this category. Tactical Fallout, 42%. So that Chevrolet of Tactical Fallout has a lot more variety regarding when he can pit, when he does want to pit under green. Again, there is still a possibility. If we have some yellow flags, that will throw almost all of the strategy out the window when it comes to fuel mileage. Everyone's going to have to start recalculating everything. In the 4th position, this is Schumacher. He is in the Ford. He is running actually better than even Aspect in fuel, so Schumacher might try and cut back on better fuel numbers right now. LMR Critical, he is here in the 5th position, 58%. 6th place RZM Arsenal is going to be 60%. LMR Critical RZM Arsenal. Sunshine, he is third in the LMP2 class, 60%, and 8th LMP Grizz, he is running with 57%. So the P2s all a lot closer together. Then we might see P2s having to make more than 2 stops today. It'll be tight, but that may be the case. Scored Buffalo leading in the BMW right now. His main rival, Larry B the G behind him, is with 63%. So fuel-wise, our top 2 in this category are close. Larry has been slowly closing in on Scored Buffalo ever since he has taken 2nd place. Keep an eye on this fight. We may see an overtake in GT if Scored Buffalo makes any mistakes today. 3rd place in the GT category is U5. He is running a lot more fuel than the drivers ahead right now, 68%. 12th place, Rock Morrow, who is in another Ferrari, 60%. And then 13th, TJ. This is one of the Porsches that we have right now. He is running 64%. 14th place, SRD Shredder, another BMW, 60%. 15th is Ludicrous Speed in the Ford GT, 58%. It's just not a good day for him. This should be the worst track for him on the schedule. Should only be looking up for Ludicrous. Matter in 16th. He is running 67%. D. Speedman is 17th. He is running with 57%. 18th. VLR Effect. Interesting scenario there. He went ahead and his pit this lap. He has already filled up, so he is trying to get ahead of everyone else. Oh, and he's around, and he has spun it out of the first hairpin. And VLR Effect has maybe detonated and grenaded his engine. Yeah, VLR Effect is out of it. And VLR Effect is out of this race. Gonna be very, very rough for Effect to deal with as we see our pace car at this point in the event. Meanwhile, back in the DPI category as we look one more time. Alright, and coming in the party right now is VLR Effect. Effect, go ahead, include your audio. Earlier, it looked like you were contending for a top 5, but it seems like everything's falling apart. And then DNF right after pits. What happened out there?
I'm driving like an absolute idiot tonight. I hit the curb. It's not going good.
Well, I mean, you're flat out honest with us, and I can't fault you for that. Thanks for that. I do have to ask, though, do you think you'll be able to rebound in the upcoming races? Daytona, a lot different than a lot of the other circuits here. Do you think there's a chance to rebound going forward, at least?
Should be able to win the other races, just I didn't have any practice for this race. Didn't have a tuner, he was using a stock setup.
Oof! Oh, God, ouch. I'm sorry. I didn't realize that was a stock setup.
Yeah.
Alright, well, hopefully things turn around better for you going forward, mate.
Yeah.
Thanks for being willing to jump in and talk with us.
No problem. Bye-bye.
Alright, so anyways, that is the word from VLR. Effect, shame to see him out. Schumacher, still 4th in the DPI class, but it seems like he may have had some instance or something. P2 cars have overtaken him on track, so I have to wonder if he may have been caught up in some mess trying to overtake lap traffic. So it's just not been a great run for him, but again, for him, just making it to the end of this race will probably be a significant boon for him. LMR Critical, leading in the LMP2 category, has maintained a good lead over the rest of the field. He does seem to have a little bit of trouble navigating lap traffic here, but right now with how many GT cars are on track, all I can say is, well, who isn't having troubles doing that? Goes to the inside of the Ferrari here of Rock Morrow and will get by without too much issue. Gap between 1st and 2nd has opened up to 7 seconds at this point in the event, so Dino Prime is gapping the rest of the DPI category by roughly at least half a second a lap. So outstanding job on his part thus far today. This is Schumacher real quickly as we see that DPI trying to close back in on the LMP2s here. Schumacher taking a much, much wider line just so he can get by. There's Arsenal, who is 2nd place in the LMP2 category that he's going to try and overtake here. And Arsenal being held up by the Ferrari of Rock Morrow. And Rock has had an accident! Rock and Arsenal have had an accident! Rock and Arsenal have had an accident coming out of the bus stop chicane. And that could end up being interesting. Will that be a yellow flag, though? That's going to be the big question. Is that a yellow flag? It does not seem like it. The leader is still staying green. So yeah, we stay green despite that. But Rock Morrow with an accident after making contact with an LMP2 driver. Rock is still in 14th position, but only for now, and it's likely he could lose this to ludicrous speed as that Ford GT goes way deeper in braking than the Ferrari, and the Ford overtakes the Ferrari through turn 1. Rock has better acceleration. Ludicrous a little bit struggle putting the power down. Nearly neck and neck. The Ferrari gets back in front of the Ford, but again, the Ford's so much stronger in the infield here than the rest of the cars. If the Ferrari can stay ahead of the Ford, he will be able to rebalance himself in 14th position overall. I do say 14th. That's 14th overall. That's not 14th in just the GT category. It's honestly easier for me to just say 14th instead of, I believe would be 6th properly. It's just, it's one of those things that's a little bit easier for me to just say 14th overall. That's LMP Grizz and the P2s who are now coming up on this fight. And with that, Ludicrous actually ends up offline. So Grizz will get by without too much issue. He should be able to overtake Rock Morrow without too much problem. The GTs have a little bit more power, or comparable power at least, to the P2s. But the P2s are so much lighter that coming out of the corners, they have much better acceleration. They can also brake a lot later. So typically a P2 will still beat a GT in a straight line, even when the GTs have higher horsepower. Alright, meanwhile, at the top of the GT category, this is the Ferrari of Larry B. the G. Sadly for him, the moves that he was making that was bringing him closer to the leader, Scored Buffalo, have not seemed to work out. The Ferrari seems to be falling off pace just a bit. And that is interesting. We are seeing a fight in the LMP2 category, potentially. This is Arsenal, and Arsenal is trying to stay ahead of Mr. Sunshine. This will be second in the category. Arsenal is ahead. Sunshine looking to try and get by that Ferrari, but can't seem to navigate traffic very well. He sees Arsenal ahead, and Sunshine trying to get a second place position in this category right now. You can see Arsenal, but will he be able to catch him? He's just outside of drafting range. Arsenal does look like he's going to catch the leader of the GT class, Scored Buffalo, going into the braking zone. And that might be something that he can make work out in his favor if he is cleaner and nimbler through the bus stop chicane. Yeah, Arsenal really held up by that BMW there. He does get going again. Oh, but you can see how much this really worked out well in Sunshine's favor. Much closer to Arsenal than he was before. Takes him a little bit of time to overtake that BMW, but he is now within drafting range, so this fight is on for second position in the LMP2 category. Sunshine has pulled up behind Arsenal. He's going to try and take an alternate braking line. Arsenal takes the apex away from Sunshine and holds on to the position, but Sunshine is there. The fight is alive, and they have overtaken all the GT cars, so it should be clean track for a little bit for these two. Nose to tail for second place in the LMP2 category, and in the DPI class, Dino Prime and Tactical Fallout have both made their pit stops. So the first of the pit stops for the DPI category are now beginning. At this point in the event, it is Chevy, Ford in the DPI category. It's a one-make Chevy only in LMP2, so that's not really a big thing. In the GT category, though, it is still BMW leading Ferrari and Chevrolet. still neck and neck for second place in the LMP2 class. Arsenal having a lot more trouble navigating the bus stop chicane than Sunshine, it would appear. But Sunshine does not seem to be quite as strong lap in, lap out, so I guess Sunshine just has to hope that lap traffic works in his favor, because otherwise it looks like Arsenal with that clean air does have the advantage. Once again, we look at the GT category. Larry B. the G continuing to run second as Scored Buffalo continues to lead in that BMW. He has basically he lost the lead. He had the pole for the GT category, lost it, did not lead the first lap, but he took the lead going into turn 1 on the second racing lap and has just opened up the gap, and that's a big lockup. Scored Buffalo has made a big mistake under braking, but this is the advantage of having this massive advantage over everyone else, because Scored Buffalo does not have to worry about anyone else putting pressure on him now. He can contain his gap over the rest of the field and should still be fine. TJ has had a bit of an issue while fighting here, and now it's let him come under threat from SRD Shredder. BMW versus Porsche here as they come out of the first of the interior hairpins. This is a fight for 4th position in the GT category. Oh, that Porsche really wide, hangs out the rear end into the grass, and he's going to end up missing the racing line. He's going to have to close back in, but that will give 4th back to Shredder in the GT category. Shredder is going to try and run down U5 for a podium seat, but at the moment, TJ not having quite the run that he wanted to out here. So here's something interesting to note. In the DPI category, Tactical Fallout runs second. He can see Matter, so he's starting to come back up onto lap traffic. 3rd place is FCR Aspect, but Aspect has not yet made his first stop as far as I can tell. No, he has. Aspect has made his first stop, so Aspect's actually closed in on Tactical Fallout. And RZM Arsenal has gotten back by Mr. Sunshine, coming out of the first of the interior hairpins. So Sunshine and Arsenal in a very spirited fight for second in the LMP2 category. Sunshine a little bit struggling just a bit under braking. So Arsenal seems to be stronger in the infield, and Sunshine seems to be stronger in the outside of the track. The thing is, right now, Arsenal still has clean air, and that means that he will be able to defend against that number 8 as they go into the bus stop chicane. And Sunshine right now about 2/3 of a second out from the class, from his second place in that class. Schumacher has gone ahead and he has made his first stop as well. So DPI sadly is running behind. One of our DPIs are sadly running behind all of our LMP2s, although we are likely to see him overtake LMP Grizz sooner rather than later. Grizz just seems to be struggling out there, kind of in the same position that Schumacher is, just kind of. He's good enough to run, but he is not good enough to keep pace with the other drivers in the category at this moment. In that number 33 machine, as we see Schumacher in that M Sport Ford, he's going to look to the outside, try and make a braking run on the outside, potentially get by him. And not close enough to do it there. Larry B, the G, and TJ are making their stops, so we are now seeing in the GT category drivers making pit stops. This man here, Scored Buffalo, when is he going to make his stop? GT cars only required to make 2 stops a day, and this BMW has 26% left in the tank. 10th place U5, he has 39% left in the tank. So Chevrolet has a lot more fuel. He can choose to pit a lot later if he thinks it's going to benefit him at this point in the event. TJ, who's already pitted, he's going to drop all the way down to 15th on the grid. Actually, 17th on the grid due to this, but he is going to make some of that back up as pit stops continue. Look at this fight. LMP Grizz holds on to 7th, and behind him, that is now ahead of him, that's Schumacher. Schumacher gets that position. You can see the massive differential in speed there. Ooh, Grizz trying to cut back in on Schumacher. It's just not been super easy for either of these two today. Look at this here, this Aspect, and if we ride on board with Aspect, that little dot farther up, that's a GT car, but you can see one even farther up, that is Tactical Fallout. So things are maybe turning around for a third place driver, Aspect. He is now in a position that he can start to see the second place in the DPI category once again. Chevrolet will give a little bit of a headache, but yeah, the Ford in third is trying to close in on the Chevrolet in second place right now. So there is a fight underway for second, or there may potentially be a fight underway for second in the DPI category in the top class. Sunshine, something has happened to Sunshine. He has been involved in an accident, or maybe he has pitted. Has he pitted? Because if he's pitted, that would explain, because he is way off. And yes, Sunshine has made his first stop of the day significantly earlier than the rest of the field in the P2 category. Now, the next driver, now Sunshine is going to be in a slightly interesting scenario. He's going to only have to deal with one lap car in the GT category very shortly here, as we see more GT drivers in pit lane right now. But Sunshine will be in a position that he might be able to make up some positions later on. This is Scored Buffalo, still leading in the GT category. That's Tactical Fallout, second in the DPI is coming up on him, but Scored Buffalo will likely have to pit before the Chevrolet, who is running second in the category. Thing is, U5, who is second in the GT, is many seconds off right now. Not really in a position to do anything. In fact, as we look at the player focus, U5, 14 seconds off of Scored Buffalo. It seems like just no one can really do anything to Buffalo at this point in the event in the GT category. In fact, throughout the GT class, gaps have opened up quite a bit. There is this fight here. Matter is up behind SRD Shredder. That Red Bull Corvette doesn't seem to be able to quite do anything at the moment. So we kind of enter a bit of a lull phase in this event. U5 and Scored Buffalo are actually making their stop at the exact same point in the race. So Rockmaro is actually going to end up leading at this point in this event. Yes, by a small amount, but Rock, by virtue of not pitting yet, now inherits the lead in this category. In fact, most of the GT category seems to be pitting at this point. So in the DPI category, Donald Prime, who took pole unexpectedly, is right now unexpectedly walking off with the lead of this race. 14 seconds over second place Tactical Fallout, and then 20 seconds over FCR Aspect, who is in third. So Aspect can still perceive Tactical Fallout ahead of him when they get to the straights, but he has not had the ability to close in and properly fight him. He was fighting with Tactical earlier, but while dealing with lap traffic, while Tac had a bit of trouble, Aspect had even more, gained turn halfway around before going underway again, and that's pretty much set the pace for that battle. In the DPI, in the LMP2 category, Critical is leading by a similar amount in the P2 class. Arsenal is 5th. Schumacher has actually worked his way up to 6th overall, but that's still dead last in his category. He's kind of split the P2s overall at the moment. That's a GT car that he is coming up on right now, so don't put too much focus on that. LMP Grizz, interestingly enough, has actually gone a lap down to our leader, overall. And Mr. Sunshine was fighting for second earlier, but he has elected to make his first pit stop early. He is hoping that this works out in his favor going forward. And who is that pitting right now? That is Arsenal and Critical making their first stops. What about Grizz and Sunshine? Sunshine, we know, is going to be able to stay out because he pitted earlier. Does Grizz pit this lap or not? The answer is yes, he will be pitting this lap. So the entire LMP2 category has officially made their first stop of the day. 8th place, Mr. Sunshine, coming by the start-finish line. There he goes. But Sunshine is not likely to overtake Arsenal. Yeah, Sunshine's still behind Arsenal. You can see Arsenal there. And he needs to hope that Arsenal gets held up by GTs, otherwise he's not going to be able to make use of this. Some moderately heavy GT traffic for second place in the LMP2 category. It's actually Tactical Fallout who's just ahead, trying to deal with Matter. And this here is your race leader still, Dino Prime, and he is closing in on Schumacher and preparing to set our first driver today a lap down in category. It's not happened yet, but he is closing. Under braking. Mobile One American-focused Chevrolet versus that M-Sport British-focused Ford. As Schumacher tries to stay on the lead lap. Lap traffic interfering just a bit. Ooh! And hip checked, and the Ferrari of Rockmaro gets hip checked off by Donald Prime. And Rock just continues to have a very, very bad day here. Second time he's been involved with an incident with someone in a faster category. This could actually hold up Dino potentially long enough to let Tactical Fallout close in just a bit and try to make something happen in this fight for DPI category. Oh, not good run for either of them. Both your first and fourth in the DPI category have a bad run through the bus stop chicane, but Dino will hold on to the position. In the GT class, Scored Buffalo continues to hold a lead. Kind of a blasé race at the front for the GT category. Larry B has closed back in to 7 seconds out, and he is 10 seconds ahead of U5. Shredder, who has eventually fought his way to 4th in the GT category, trying to figure out how he can close in on U5, who is 11th right now on track. Rockmaro has fallen back to 13th. TJ is 14th overall. He is looking to try and close back in on Rock, but is not able to do anything with him at the moment. 5th place, Ludicrous Speed. 16th is Deed Speedman. 17th is Matter. Deed and Matter have really just not had a very great day thus far today. But this fight here between Rockmaro trying to make something happen and to stay ahead of TJ, that is our #1 fight on the racetrack right now. Pretty much all the other fights have pretty much deteriorated at this point in the event. I say that, but check this out. LMR Critical has actually closed in on Schumacher. But Schumacher is already pulling away. Okay, so never mind there. Aspect has closed to 3 seconds out from Tactical Fallout. So there is still a potential, not a guarantee, but a potential for a fight in this category. We've stayed green this entire race. We have seen a few instances, primarily with Rockmaro. He's basically been hip check central today. We've seen him get run off or spun twice thus far in today's event. And we are not quite halfway through today's race at this stage in the event. We still have 50 minutes and then half of another minute left on the clock right now. So pit strategy is going to be one of the other big things to watch as this race goes on. We still have to see all of our GT drivers make one more pit stop. All of our LMP2 drivers need to make one more pit stop. We are looking at potentially 3 more stops for our DPI leaders. Right now, as we look at Dino Prime 77, who continues to lead, he has been leading in dominant fashion today. He is at 33% left in the tank, so we know that he's probably going to be making his next stop sooner rather than later. The DPI category can go about 16 laps on a tank of gas today. The interesting thing is going to be this man here, LMR Critical, who is leading the LMP2 category. He is potentially going to try and go for a position higher than 5th overall. He might be able to overtake Schumacher SF7 or FCR Aspect for 4th or maybe even 3rd overall, depending on how pit stops fall. The fact that we have stayed green thus far today will make things a little bit interesting for him. Now, as I say that, Critical is a lap down to your leader at the moment, and behind on track, that will be Tactical Fallout, who is 2nd in the DPI category, who will be lapping him shortly. But irregardless, at this point in the event, that is something as an interesting little, bragging point to have going forward. Of note, in the preseason race at Sonoma, LMP2s did win overall against the DPIs. So the balance has been changed a bit to try and keep that from happening again. Also, the balance was changed to try and balance out the Fords to the Chevys overall. Kind of jury is out on that, on if the balance worked or not. Has scored Buffalo, who is leader still in the GT category. One advantage being leading the GT category, and I think Scored Buffalo is probably the happiest man on track right now. And I do want to talk real briefly on Scored Buffalo. Buffalo, he is anticipated to win every single race this season that is not an endurance. We have 2 endurance races. They will be at Road Atlanta and Road America a little bit later in the season. Scored Buffalo is anticipated to win every single race this year in the GT category, with the exception of those 2. With that in mind, Buffalo just needs to show up every event, and he could walk out of here with an easy win for the GT championship. Now, there could end up being some rebalancing that happens that drags the BMW back down, but it's not a guarantee, it's not high likelihood. But right now, at this point in the event, it's very happy for Buffalo. He's going to get passed constantly, but he's being passed by people who are so much faster than him that they're going to be taking wider lines. They have to figure out a way around him. He doesn't have to worry about moving aside for them. He doesn't have to worry about defending against them. If anything, he might be getting a small draft off of them down the straights. He is so far ahead of everyone else in the GT category, he can dictate his own strategy independent of them all. Assuming that there are no yellow flags that occur that put him in a bad position fuel consumption-wise, this man right now is clear and golden. The GT cars are nice and heavy, so in contact scenarios between DPIs and GTs, or LMP2 and GTs, Buffalo is more than likely going to be able to walk out with no real damage and not really being knocked off the racing line. Of everyone on track right now, this man here, I think, is the safest of everyone. I think he is walking away to an easy win in this GT category. He just needs to not have any accidents happen. Real quick, we take a look once more at our DPI leaders. We are curious to see when they are going to make their next stop. Not this lap, but 18% left in the tank for Dino Prime, so in about, I'd say, 3 to 4 more laps, we could probably see him pitting. Second place in the GT category, Larry B. the G, continuing to run a very dull, boring race, kind of all by himself. There's literally no one else on track around with him at this point. Third place in the GT category is U5, And U5 is holding station over Shredder. Shredder in the BMW has been trying desperately to close in on U5. And I think this BMW is probably on the same pace as that GT ahead. The problem is that Shredder has spent so much time fighting with other drivers, he's kind of permanently stuck and can't figure out a way to close the gap. That kind of becomes the problem when you end up in any racing scenario. If you are fighting, you will be slower than the people who are not fighting. There are a handful of exceptions. Daytona, it's not nearly as bad because the draft does come into play. But Shredder has lost about 4 seconds worth of time against U5 just fighting other drivers today. It's put him in a hole. He needs to hope that dealing with faster cars going by in the LMP2 and DPI category drags U5 down to him. For Rockmaro, it's a little bit different scenario. Rock arguably is faster than Shredder. I don't know if Rock is faster than your third place, who is U5 overall in the category, but we know Rock is faster than Shredder. He keeps closing the gap on that BMW bit by bit, inch by bloody inch. But he has been involved in 2 different accidents with faster category cars right now. He is fighting to try and get back into 4th, and right now it's just not going as well as he wants. Schumacher in the DPI category is making his 2nd of 4 mandatory stops right now. So he's trying to get that underway early on. And across the rest of the field, everyone else in the GT category really spread out. So it's just a lot of matter of, okay, we'll just be ahead of everyone else. Dino Prime right now, continuing to lead. He overtakes Deedstream in the BMW category. One other thing to take note of, last place in the GT category is TFB Matter. He is 17th, and your current leader in GT, has he put him a lap down? Scored Buffalo has not yet put your GT last place a lap down. LMP Grizz, who is 8th and 4th in his category, has not yet gone down a lap to LMR Critical either. Schumacher right now running behind Critical. And this is going to be kind of a frustrating thing for Schumacher. He's been spending most of the stage just trying to get by the DPI cars. He's outright faster than them on pace, but between pit stops and, well, not just pit stops, but also just instants on track, Schumacher has basically been spending most of his day fighting with cars a class lower than him. He is hoping, though, that things will rebound. Again, it's been a struggle for him just to qualify into the series. Now that he's in, things should only be looking up for him going forward. Shredder, 3 seconds out from U5. Rockmaro, 3 seconds out from Shredder. TJ, 4 seconds out from Rockmaro. Ludacris, 7 seconds out from TJ. So there's not in a position to outright fight yet, but the gaps are starting to close there. Larry B. the G is hanging out about 7 seconds behind Scored Buffalo, which has been where he has been a good chunk of this race. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and ride silently for a lap on board with Rockmaro. Yeah, ride silently on board for a lap with Rockmaro. And from his position, we'll see what a lap is like here around Daytona. And that's a full lap on board the Ferrari of Rockmaro here around Daytona, and he has had a bit of a deep dive into turn 1 there, but he will be able to continue. Again, as we look at the map once more, of note, Dyno is where he started. Tack has actually gained 2 positions. Schumacher is down 1 overall. Buffalo is up a position. Larry B. the G is up 3. U5 and Shredder are both where they started. So, yeah, a lot of interesting scenarios as I'm looking at the ticker. I'm trying to adjust the ticker to something that will actually be interesting because it's not going to tell you anything when it comes to timing gaps at this point. Oh, distance gaps still work. Okay, that's interesting. Oh, no, they don't, because there are a lot of distance gaps that aren't working. Okay, never mind. Alright. Well, I guess I can't really do anything with the ticker then. Second place, Tactical Fallout continues to run. Tactical Fallout ended up sadly missing qualifying in today's race due to a little bit of a hiccup. He still got to start 4th though, and he has rebounded up into 2nd in his category, but has just not been able to touch his teammate, Dino Prime 77. Now these two do typically run different builds, and Tactical Fallout known to have some of the best engine setups in the game, but it seems like Tac might be losing time in the braking zones of the bus stop and the infield, and that might be where he is running behind Dino Prime right now in pace. However, he is gapping FCR Aspect. At the moment in the DPI category, it looks like everything's going to just kind of settle the way it is at the moment. Again, of note, the DPI category have made their first 2 out of multiple stops that they do need to run today. LMR Critical continues to walk off with an easy lead here in the LMP2 category. This is 5th place, RZM Arsenal, who is nearly the entire infield section behind. 3rd place in the LMP2 category is Mr. Sunshine. Sunshine trying to close back in. He was fighting for 2nd in his category earlier, but that's kind of fallen away. This is Schumacher, who is still really struggling today, and this is LMP Grizz, who is way behind the rest of his rivals. Scored Buffalo continues to walk off with an easy lead here in the GT category. Larry B. the G is still 2nd. Larry has just not been able to really do anything with Scored Buffalo. He closes the gap, then it opens back up. He closes the gap, then it opens back up. And at this point in the race, he is the closest he's been most of this day, 4.5 seconds off of Scored Buffalo. Again, though, the counterpoint is that he keeps getting closer to this, and then things happen, and the gap opens up to about 10 seconds. If Larry can catch Scored Buffalo before this race is over, I do think it would be an interesting race. The thing is, he has not been closing at a rate consistent enough that would make me say with confidence, hey, we're going to see an actual fight. As I say that, Scored has thrown away an entire second, actually more than a second there, in the 2nd infield hairpin. Larry has closed to 3.3 seconds out from Scored Buffalo. This is the closest it's been in the GT category since the end of the 2nd lap. We may see a Ferrari versus BMW fight for the GT lead shortly here. This is another fight to watch. Rockmaro has come under threat from TJ. Rock has dealt with so many issues today, so many headaches, but Shredder has made a pit stop, and he is now behind. So this is currently a fight for what is 4th overall in the category. TJ trying to make something happen to the Ferrari. So a fight for 12th in the GT category. Porsche seems, this is the Porsche. He seems to be walking up the track just a little bit. As you see, the 2nd place in the DPI category, Tactical Fallout, scoot by. Not a great exit out of the bus stop for TJ, and that will go in Rockmaro's favor. This fight might have been over before it even began. Yeah, already TJ's now fallen 2 seconds out. Yeah, this battle seems to have already dissipated. There goes Critical. So here's an interesting scenario as we watch Schumacher as he's trying to close back in to the LMP2s ahead of him. He is closing on Mr. Sunshine in 6th, and Sunshine is currently 3rd in the LMP2 category, and he's trying to close in on Arsenal, who is 2nd. But Sunshine seems to be struggling with his own headaches right now. This is Shredder, who is in not quite last, but near the rear of the field here in the GT category. He was running in 4th, but I think that he made a stop early. Let's check here. Yeah, he's made an early stop, so he is planning on running this run on fuel and tires all the way to the end of this race and try to just stay in clean air to get ahead of everyone else. It's a bold strategy, but I don't think it's going to work because there's just not a whole lot of fighting going on elsewhere in the GT category amongst people that he needs to get back in front of. TJ currently running by himself. Rockmaro is running by himself, actually slowly gapping TJ. And U5, who is in 11th, has been running by himself most of this event. And once again, we want to focus on 2nd place in the GT category. The gap is now closed down, less than 3 seconds. Larry B. the G is 2.7 seconds out from Scored Buffalo at this point in the event. That BMW you see going through the bus stop ahead, that is the man that he is trying to run down. So a fight is beginning to brew at the top in the GT category. Ferrari versus BMW. It's not started yet, but all the pieces are beginning to fall in line for this fight to get underway. And Larry making his last stop of the day now. So Scored Buffalo has yet to make his final stop. But as we look at his telemetry, fuel-wise, he has 33% left, so there's still a lot of freeness for him. But a lot of drivers trying to be the first in their little group to make their first pit stop today. If they can do so, then in the event of a yellow flag, they will likely end up jumping ahead. And we have still most of our race starters on the racetrack. 16 of our 17 starters today are still running. I'm sorry, 17 of our 18 starters today are still running. The chance of a yellow flag for an on-track accident is still quite high simply because of the number of cars we have running on the racetrack here. But with this pit stop, Larry B is now 27.6 seconds behind Scored Buffalo. I think Buffalo is just going to try and keep running until he is nearly out of fuel. When it comes to the overall time, though, as I look at the clock, we still have just a little bit more than 30 minutes left, 30 minutes and 48 seconds at the clock that I have. I might be a little bit behind on my clock. I think I said I started it going a little bit later than it actually should be. But either way, we still have the better part of half an hour left in this race. In the GT category, the fight is going to be between Scored Buffalo and Larry B. the G for the win. Scored took pole position, did not lead the first lap, and most notably, but he took the lead going into turn 1 on the second lap of the race as he's gradually walked away from everyone all day. But Larry B the G has been closing in. It's not been a consistent amount, but Larry has been closing in, and we may have a fight for one of our categories before this race is over in the lead scenario. Meanwhile, this is a little bit farther back. Rockmorrow running behind Larry B the G as Larry has made his stop. But Larry, we anticipate that he is going to end up back ahead of a bunch of these drivers here. This is U5. He is now split between the Ferrari, who has pitted, and the BMW that is leading. We know that this Chevy can go significantly longer on fuel, and I have to wonder if maybe U5 is just hoping against hope that something works out, that he can end up ahead of everyone else. Again, GT entire category is required to make 2 pit stops, so with the same with LMP2s. DPI is required to run 4 pit stops in today's race. Here's an interesting little fight. Watch this. This is Critical, and Critical has caught FCR Aspect. No, Critical hasn't caught FCR Aspect. Critical has gone a lap down to Aspect. Oh my. Yeah, Aspect has lapped nearly the entire field. He's going, well, yeah, Aspect has lapped the entire field in his category. No, I'm sorry. I'm wrong. Never mind. Don't listen to me. I'm stupid. I'm stupid. I thought something didn't seem right. So yeah, Aspect is still in the DPI category. I'm still stupid. I'm sorry. Arsenal is still leading in his category. I do apologize for that hiccup. Critical is still leading in his category. Arsenal is second. Sunshine is third. And Grizz is fourth. Interesting enough, Grizz has caught Sunshine. So something may have gone wrong with Sunshine, because for the first time today, Grizz has a little bit of a fight to go. Is it that, or is it that Sunshine is, because he pitted earlier in the event for his first stop, he has now been caught by Grizz because he has made his second stop early, and that is exactly what's happened. Sunshine is kind of having to hold off Grizz, but Sunshine does not have to worry about pitting again. Grizz will have to pit before this race is over, though. Race has just not really worked out in the way that Sunshine wanted it to today. He was fighting for second earlier, but he's just kind of gradually fallen off pace. And now, with a pit stop, fourth in his category is able to give him some grief. So this is not ideal for Sunshine under any circumstance, under any guise of the term. Oh, Grizz! Oh, wow, Grizz really sideways coming out of the second hairpin. That will let Sunshine start to open the gap just a bit. Sunshine trying to hold on where he is now. He doesn't want to have a mistake or an accident put him behind Grizz. Now, again, Grizz has to make another stop, but still, you don't want to be putting yourself in bad scenarios right now. Oh! Buffalo's making his pit stop. Buffalo is just completed his pit stop. Where does Larry B the G end up in relation? That is the question. Here he comes out of the final corner into the first corner. He is 3 seconds out from scored Buffalo. So actually, Buffalo has gone for the overcut, and he has actually opened the gap back up against Larry B the G. So Larry now about 3.5 seconds behind the BMW leader once more. How long will it take Scored to get his tires up to temperature? Those tires should be up to temp in the BMW by the time he gets into Speedway Turn 1. Yeah, it looks like Buffalo's ended up on the winning scenario right now. He has actually gone long, and that has let him open up the gap on the Ferrari. Larry needs to figure out some way now, whether it's through pace or whatnot, to close in 3.5 seconds in these final 20 plus minutes of this race. And then even once he catches Scored Buffalo, all right, cool, you've caught him. Are you actually going to be able to do anything with him? That's going to be the next half of that question. That's your DPI class leader, Dino Prime. Now, U5 is currently leading. He has elected not to pit until now, so he is now pitting. He will officially lead that lap. So officially, there are 2 laps that Scored Buffalo will have not led today. The first lap and then this one. But U5 pits, and this will drop him down. We are anticipating back to 3rd overall in his category. Shredder is closing in, but I do not think Shredder is close enough to do anything about it. He's been on pace, even with U5. And he's going to let Mr. Sunshine, the LMP2 category, by there. Struggling to do the same with the LMP Grizz prototype. And here comes the DPI prototype as well. Oh, did Grizz go off into the dirt? Yes, Grizz has gone off into the dirt there. He will go ahead and skide right by. And now there goes the DPI of Tactical Fallout as well by. But Grizz really struggling much more than Sunshine to navigate lap traffic. And he falls back solidly into 4th in his category. So he spent a lap on board with the GT of Rockmorrow. Let's go ahead and do the same with the LMP2 of RZM Arsenal. We will go silent for a lap and ride on board with RZM Arsenal and see what a lap is like on board with the LMP2 car. And that's the lap on board with RZM Arsenal here in the LMP2 category. Once more, we take a look at the potential of a fight for the lead in the GT category. At the moment, the gap between 1st and 2nd in the GT is 3.5 seconds, and it seems to be heading steady, holding steady. As I said, Scored may have dropped to 10th in turn 1. Dealing with traffic. In fact, I believe Scored is now actually dealing with trying to put drivers a lap down in his category. Yeah, that's exactly what's happened. Buffalo now being held up by TFB Matter, and there go the GT class. Dino Prime and Tactical Fallout. And as something happened to Dino Prime, oh, and Matter goes off there. Did something happen to Dino Prime? Something may have happened to Dino Prime that has brought Tactical Fallout back into play. We're looking at the telemetry, or the damage. Tac is at 9% fuel. Did Dino just make his stop early? Is that all it is? Yes, Dino has made his stop early. He holds the lead over his teammate, but just barely. Tactical Fallout, second, trying to lead at least a single lap today. This is the first time we have seen a serious fight in the GT category for a while. I mean, the DPI category for a while. And it does seem like Dino is still has a superior car to Tactical Fallout, at least going through the bus stop, and he is going to hold the position. Just barely, but he will hold the position. Once again, though, Scored Buffalo was held up for a while by traffic, and Larry B. the G is now closing in on him. The gap between Larry and Scored, what is it going to look like now? .2 seconds, so it must not have been as bad for Scored as he was afraid it would be. But lap traffic in the same category now beginning to be an issue for your GT leader. The next driver that Scored will have to deal with will be Deed Speeman. Deed's already in Speedway turns 1 and 2, so he may not catch them before the time is up in this session. So after that bit of a hiccup there for Scored, it looks like for now he has stabilized back out. 3.5 seconds ahead of Larry B. Somewhere between 3 and 3.5 seconds. The gap fluctuates quite a bit, but... Tactical Fallout has made his stop now, and this has dropped him back into second where we figured that he was going to be. This is FCR Aspect. Everyone was anticipating that Aspect would come in and would be significantly faster than the rest of the field, and he has had an incident and goes way off real bad in the bus stop, and that's been the main thing that's been handicapping him most of the day. Just been bad runs through the bus stop chicane, and it has dropped him from potentially a pole to all the way, he is way out of third, so it's just not been a good day for him in any sense of the term. Second place, Tactical Fallout missed qualifying, and that's really not changed anything because, again, it is a small field in our prototype categories, but Tac, even despite missing qualifying and that valuable track time and, you know, actually having to overtake drivers, he has not really let that bother him. He has fought on merit all the way up into second. He's now trapped behind Scored Buffalo just a bit there, but we'll overtake him without too much issue, I imagine. Yep, there it is. And Tac, it's been a solid enough day, but we're going to go ahead and ride on board with our leader, Dino Prime, for a full lap in the Chevy, see what a lap is like here around Daytona. do want to apologize for that little bit of a hiccup when it came to the telemetry on screen. That was 100% my fault there. Dino Prime has won here before in the GT category at Daytona. This has been historically one of his best tracks in this game. His first win in Forza Motorsport 7 came in the OSRL, back when it was called NX1CS, here at Daytona in the night. He has won here in the GT class before when it was only GT cars here at Daytona by virtue of pitting early ahead of the rest of the field. No, I'm sorry, that wasn't a Daytona. That was the Clash. Is when the Clash by pitting earlier than the rest of the field. Now he is trying to win in a multi-class series here at Daytona. In the LMP2 category, it is this man here, LMR Critical, who looks like he's going to walk off with this. LMP2 class has been relatively calm most of the day today. In the GT category, though, things could still go up. We don't know what it's going to look like. This is Scored Buffalo. He is 3.7 seconds ahead of Larry B. the G, so Larry is actually losing time to Scored on this final stint. But things could change. All it would take would be a really bad run, really bad lap for Scored, or be held up by faster cars. Unlikely to happen, but if he gets held up by faster cars, that could see Larry close back in. All right, it is official. It is official now. This race is over. I don't know how long I was talking while I was muted. I apologize for that. And we have gone start to finish with no yellow flags. Real quick, I'm curious if Arsenal is closing in on Schumacher or not. No, he is not. Schumacher is gone. All right. This man here scored Buffalo. About to end his own race as well. Donald Prime on the last lap. Started on the pole. Did not expect to get pole, but he started on the pole and has absolutely burned the grid down today in that Mobil 1 Chevrolet DPI. He just has the bus stop chicane left. That will be the last braking zone, and then this race will officially go into him. Wrong car. This is LMR critical. Same scenario, started on the pole, has dominated this race start to finish, and this race win is going to go to him once he navigates the final bit. Scored Buffalo in 9th. It got a little bit interesting in the middle stint, but Scored has easily walked off with this. And this is his final lap. He is about to walk off with his class win as well. And there it is. Dino Prime 77 will officially win here in the DPI category to open up his season. Tactical Fallout will come home in the 2nd spot for sure. LMR Critical coming to the line, and he will take home his category victory. Scored Buffalo, started on the pole, has led all but 2 laps today, and will easily walk off with a nice little win once he successfully navigates these bus stop chicane for a last time today. Oh, has something happened to TJ and Shredder? Has there been an incident? Oh no, they're just stopping. Okay, never mind. And that's the win. Trying to get our category winners into the party to hear what they have to say about their race. Don't know how long this is going to take to get our category winners in here. All right, here we are. Well, first of our category winners is Scored Buffalo coming into the party. Scored, congratulations. You took the pole and have led all but 2 laps today in the race to walk off with the opening win for the GT category. Congratulations. Make sure your audio is included, Buffalo. What do you have to say about that race?
I mean, the start was pretty good for me. I mean, even though I got behind the MVP, but after that, after I passed the MVP, I mean, it's just a smooth race. Nothing really happened.
All right. Yeah, you can say that again. I did notice at some points it seemed like you were held up by some DPI and GT cars, but all right. So an easy win here. Do you think you can replicate this for the rest of the season, considering how Daytona is really unique compared to most of the rest of the tracks in the schedule?
Um, I think I have a chance, but I mean, we'll just see what happens.
All right. Well, I do want to say thanks for jumping in and talking with us. Great job. Good job on your win overall. We also want to go ahead and talk with second place in our GT category, Larry B. the G. Larry, go ahead, include your audio. It was a valiant effort. You closed the gap between yourself and Buffalo down to 2.7 seconds at one point in the event. But in the end, about a half dozen seconds off. What do you have to say about your run today?
Gave her all she got, Captain. I mean, pretty much just full beans all the way. I mean, I was pretty much matching my PBs by a tenth or two every lap in that last half hour, and he was still either keeping the gap or pulling it. So, I mean, I gave it everything. I'm happy with second. I think those are good points if we can come away with that.
All right. Well, second place here. Do you think you'll be able to bounce back going forward, considering that, Daytona is a lot more unique than the other circuits on the schedule? It's much more high-speed focused than the other tracks. Do you think other circuits might suit your Ferrari a bit better?
I think Daytona suited the Ferrari pretty well. So, going forward, we'll see how the rest of the tracks treat the Ferrari. I think it's a good all-rounder car. So, second here, I think it's a successful day.
All right. Well, thanks for jumping in and being willing to talk with us. Now I want to go ahead talk with our DPI, our LMP2 category finishers. First up, want to go ahead talk with our LMP2 winner, RZM Arsenal. Arsenal, fourth overall, and you win today's race. I believe I got this right. No, you weren't the one who won. I'm sorry. Forgive me. It was Critical. Yeah, I'm sorry. I apologize for that. Critical, you started on the pole, pretty much walked this entire day, start to finish. What do you have to say about your run out there?
Yeah, nothing special happened. Just a smooth drive to the end. It was a nice race. Overall, had fun.
All right, so the question is, do you think you'll be able to replicate this going forward across the rest of the season?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm missing a couple of races in the next weeks, but yeah, looking forward to it.
All right, well, that will definitely make the title fight interesting. Shame to see you're not going to hear. Shame to hear you're not going to be with us every race, but we're glad to have you here, and it's good to see you with that win. We also want to go ahead talk with Arsenal. Arsenal, go ahead, make sure your audio is included. Your day obviously not as smooth as the class winner. You had a little bit of a spat with Sunshine early on in the event before he eventually fell away. I am more curious though. You made the switch to go from DPI to LMP2. What was your opinion in how the cars feel different from your perspective?
I feel the DPIs, they just had a bit too much power for me. And that's what a lot of people were struggling with, so I made the switch over, thinking it would be a bit better, and it did feel good, but it's just my consistency. I can't really just hold my pace the whole way, and that's why I could keep up a little bit at the start, and then I just started to fall off a little bit towards the end. And it could also be the track, because I'm more better at high-speed tracks like Coda, and a track like Daytona where there's a lot of the infield section, that's where I tend to lose my time a lot.
Alright. Well, there's not going to be very many tracks like Daytona going forward. There aren't a whole lot of pure speed-focused circuits quite like this one. So I do have to ask, going forward, what do you think you'll be able to pull off across the rest of the season?
I would say second would be where I would expect to finish. Unless there's a caution or something happens with critical, I might be able to have a go for first.
Alright, well, hopefully things get interesting then and give you a proper shot at the win going forward. Thank you very much for being willing to jump in and talk with us. We're going to go ahead and talk with our DPI category. We've not gotten anything from Dino Prime yet, but we do have our second place finisher in the DPI category, Tactical Fallout in the party. Tac, go ahead and include your audio. Missed qualifying due to some shenanigans, but you end up coming home second overall and second in your category. What was the race like from your perspective?
It was good. I would also like to clarify that me and Dino did not finish 1 and 2. We did not finish 1 and 2. We missed the pit stop somehow. We both made a vital error. We both got 3 pit stops instead of 4, so technically both of the Fords that are running finished 1 2.
Well, all right then. I didn't see that coming. All right. What do you have to? All right. Well, beyond that, anything else that you have to say about your run today?
The car did better than I thought it was going to. Was more efficient than we both thought it was really going to be. But I mean, it was fun. It was fun. Just
Shumi,
being
please
nice and quick.
stand by in the party for just a bit. I want to talk with you. Keep going, Tac.
But other than that, I mean, it was a good day. There's a few people I wasn't really too happy with during the race, but you know, it is what it is sometimes. So, other than that, I mean, I think it was a good day minus the error we made.
All right, it's definitely a frustrating thing to see that turned out that way. I assume either the rules are going to be amended or you guys will change strategy to keep that from happening again going forward.
Yep, that's the plan.
All right. Real quick, I want to talk with our actual first and second place finishers, Aspect and Schumacher. We'll start with Schumacher real quick because I know it's relatively late for you. Schumacher, rough day, but due to disqualifications, you finished second overall in your first outing here in the DPI category. So, congratulations. What do you have to say with that?
I'm shocked. I was off the pace, and it's a learning curve. That's pretty much it. Just it was a good bit of fun, to be fair. So, yeah, enjoyed it.
All right. Well, you come home second, so this will be a great run for you to start out the season, to say the least. Do you think you can replicate this with maybe more podiums going forward? Again, Daytona is a very unique track, and you come more from the European background, so you're going to have more European-style tracks like COTA coming up. Do you think more podiums are in the cards for you?
COTA will tell, because I love that track. Fast-flowing, especially in a Formula 1 car. But obviously I'm not driving a Formula 1 car, so it'll take a bit of adapting to, but I'm sure I can get up there.
All right. Well, either way, good job on coming home second, even if it was under weird technicalities. Great job. And we want to talk to our actual DPI category winner, FCR Aspect. Aspect, go ahead, include your audio. You win. Very unexpected, but you've taken home a win for the season opener here at Daytona. What do you have to say?
Honestly, I have no idea. I wasn't expecting it. Well, I guess I've been, like, improving a lot in my racing, so I guess it's whatever. Very humble, so I don't really like bragging about my win that much, but, you know. It's a very surreal thing, especially it's probably my first Forza League win ever, so, and it's not even by default, so.
Hey man, a win is a win is a win is a win. I would take it if I wouldn't be that upset about it. I'll take it. So now the question though I do have to ask is, you come home with the win today, but your overall pace obviously not on the level of Chevrolets. Do you think that you have the ability to close the gap between the Ford and the Chevys going into the rest of the season?
Depends on the track, honestly. Ford is very like good on the corners, but Chevy does have the speed. That's why I was kind of falling behind Tactical in the straights, so it's just depends.
All right, well, Aspect, Either way, congratulations on your win. Very much unexpected, but good job bringing it home, mate. And hopefully we see you with some more great and even stronger runs going forward.
Thank you, man.
All right, and I've been your host for today's broadcast, Insane Leader 13. A little bit later, I will be covering the Apex NASCAR race here at Daytona. That will be around the normal traditional oval. But until that time, thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.